Hi, Shane here. You're watching Sam for God, and this is Mark. Check her out.
So hi guys, how are you doing? A few days ago, on the 25th of August 2015, I went to the Adelphi Theatre on the Strand in London to see a new musical called Kinky Boots. Now this isn't actually a new musical, it opened on Broadway a few years ago, but it's only recently opened in London. It's not even actually completely open yet, it's still in previews. It opens officially in a few weeks, I believe, and I think I saw like the third or fourth preview, so still quite early on, and I just thought I'd share my thoughts with you about it. Now Kinky Boots, like I said, first opened on Broadway, well actually opened somewhere else in America, and then it went on Broadway back in 2013 I believe, and it did really well as far as I know. It won quite a few Tonys, including Best Musical, and people on Broadway seemed to love it. Like, it just won loads of awards and stuff, and so everybody was really excited about it coming to London. And some of you guys who had seen it in New York were like telling me how I need to go and see it as soon as possible because it's amazing and stuff. And so I did. I took a chance and I went as soon as I could. But what happened is that I went in with very high expectations because of all the hype. Like, literally, even people I know who went to see the first few previews before I went had nothing but praise for the show. Like, on Twitter and Facebook, all I could see was just like, oh my god, Kinky Boots is amazing, best new show I've seen, blah blah blah. And so I went in there expecting it to be amazing. And before I get into the review in more detail, I'm just gonna say it, I didn't think it was amazing. That doesn't mean I thought it was bad. I enjoyed it, but it was not as good as I expected it to be, and I definitely don't think it's the best new musical of 2015. Okay, so the plot of Kinky Boots is about a boy called Charlie. His dad has this factory that makes shoes and stuff, and then he passes away, and then Charlie inherits the factory, and it's kind of his job to try and save the factory, I guess, because the factory meant a lot to his dad and the people who worked at the factory, and even though he's not necessarily interested in shoes, he feels like he has to kind of try and save it. And what happens is that he meets this drag queen person called Lola, and as it happens, in a weird way, he decides to ask Lola for help to try and save the factory. And that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to give any spoilers. Now the story itself was okay, like there was nothing wrong with it, but at the same time it wasn't anything exciting either. Like, it wasn't original in my opinion. But as far as I know and have read, it's based on a true story, so I'm not sure how true it is to the actual story, but if it is based on a true story, obviously they couldn't like make up stuff. It had to be true to what the story that actually happened was. So I guess I understand that, it's fine. The characters. Now, the two main characters are obviously Charlie and Lola. Charlie was played by the very well-known West End actor Cillian Donnelly. I've seen Cillian Donnelly in a lot of shows now, not necessarily by choice. It's not like I'm a massive fan of him or anything, but he just seems to be everywhere. He's done really well in the past few years. He's been like in pretty much all the big new shows that have opened, and I mean I've seen him in Les Mis and Phantom and Billy Elliot, and then he did The Commitments, and then Memphis most recently, and now he's in this. So I mean, well done to him. And he was really good in this as well. In fact, I think it's probably this and his role in Memphis are my two favourite roles that I've seen Cillian Donnelly in, I think. I don't know, I liked him in Phantom as well. But what I liked about his performance in this is that he played a completely different character. Like, Charlie's character is so different to anything Cillian's played before, and he had to put on this like very English accent as well, like Northampton accent, which if you didn't know, Cillian's from Ireland, so he's got a very thick Irish accent. So it's my first time seeing him do like a proper English accent, and he was really good at it. And I believed his character. He was very good. It just proves why he's doing so well, because he deserves it. He is a very good performer. Now Lola was played by a guy called Matt Henry, and for me, Matt is the person who stole the show. If it wasn't for Matt, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did. Matt's performance as Lola was just outstanding. He was really good. Like, again, he completely transformed himself into this completely different character, you know, of Lola, and he was funny, he was sassy, he was brave in his acting choices, but also like in the emotional scenes he did very well. And I don't know, I just thought that he was the one who held the show together. I suppose he is quite a big part as well. So anyway, I'd actually seen Matt Henry a few years ago in Avenue Q as Gary Coleman, so I liked him in that as well, but this was such a different role that it was just really interesting and fun to see him in it. And you know, he was amazing. Cillian Donnelly's character Charlie has a wife in the show called Nicola, and she was played by an actress called Amy Ross. She was good, standard, you know, I really don't have much to say about her performance. She was good. Then we've also got a girl called Lauren, and she's one of the factory workers, and she was played by Amy Lennox. Now I was actually very excited to see Amy in this because I've seen Amy in quite a few shows since 2010. Like the first time I saw her was in Legally Blonde in London back in 2010, and I was a big fan of her portrayal of Elle because she used to understudy Elle and she used to play Margot as well, and I really liked her portrayal of Elle. I think it might actually be my favourite Elle. I've seen a few people play Elle and I really liked her version, and I've seen her in a few other things, but it had been quite a few years that I hadn't seen her in anything, so I was very much looking forward to her performance in this, and she didn't disappoint. She was really funny, like very funny, great voice, you know, just a great performance, great stage presence. I liked her performance, but again, that's all I can say. I wasn't completely amazed. I wasn't like, there wasn't anything memorable about her character or anything. I just thought she did a good job, and I think, to be honest, it's not really the actress's fault. I think the characters, all of them, you know, including Charlie and Lola, I don't know, but there isn't much depth to them, in my opinion. Like, Lola is probably the most interesting one of the whole cast, and I guess that makes sense. Like, his character development is quite interesting, but it's still not enough for me for it to be an amazing musical. I feel like they could have just done a bit more with the characters. A lot of what they did in the show was very predictable, in my opinion. A lot of what they said was predictable. Charlie especially, like in Act 2, he does a few things in Act 2 and he suddenly turns from one extreme to another extreme, and it's a bit weird. Like, again, I'm not going to say anything more, but it was just, I found it very out of character, and I found it hard to believe that he would do that. I don't know, I think it could have been portrayed a bit better, like, and that's not Killian's fault. Like, I think actually Killian did a very good job considering how, you know, the character's written and stuff, but I don't know, there was something about his character in Act 2 that just didn't sit right with me. I just didn't find it believable enough. Right, that's what I'm going to say about the characters. The whole cast was good though. They all did great, you know, there wasn't anyone in the show that I was like, I don't like you. But yeah, and the music for the show is written by the multi-award winning Cyndi Lauper, and it's good. The music is good. But again, I'm afraid that's all I can say about it. The music isn't memorable, like, apart from the one bit in the song that goes, say yeah, yeah, that's literally all I could remember when I left the theatre. So that bit's quite catchy, fair enough, but all the other songs, honestly, it's only been a few days, but I can't remember any of them. Like, whilst I was watching the show, they were enjoyable. I enjoyed watching them, I enjoyed the performances, but nothing amazing, nothing special, nothing to write home about. And I mean, to be honest, the music style isn't necessarily my kind of music anyway, so maybe it's just personal taste, but, you know, I probably should have remembered at least a few of the songs if it was that good. But anyway, it's not all about catchiness anyway. Some people might really like the music, and that's fair enough. The sets were good, really good. A lot of lights and flashy stuff, and the factory area was done really well. The costumes were great as well. You know, it was fun to see. Obviously, when, you know, you go to see a show about a drag queen, you're gonna expect a lot of cool and extremely, you know, out there costumes, and you got that from Kinky Boots, and it was fun. It's always fun watching people with the great costumes on stage, and, you know, there was a lot of that in this. The show's quite funny. There are quite a few funny moments in the show. I mean, Lola's character, I feel like, was meant to be very funny, even though he does have his, like, more serious side as well. Most of Lola's purpose, I think, especially in the first few scenes in the first act, is just to be funny, and it works. You know, Matt Henry did a really good job, and I laughed. He was probably one of the, you know, few people that actually made me laugh a lot in the show. But also, you have to realize that the humor is very, I don't know if you can call it like drag queen humor, but because you're watching a drag queen being funny, it does feel like all the jokes are jokes that you would see when you go watch like a drag queen. And to be honest, I wouldn't really know, because, you know, that's not really my thing. I don't go watch drag queens and stuff, but I have seen a few acts. I have seen a few drag queens before in different concerts and stuff, and that's kind of what it was like here as well in Kinky Boots. I felt like the jokes were just jokes that I'd heard before, and even though they were funny, there wasn't anything special to them. There wasn't anything that made them original. Amy Lennox's character as well, she's meant to be very funny. I'm pretty sure, like, that's pretty much her only purpose, to be honest. She does have one scene that's meant to be a bit more serious, but even in that scene, she's just funny, and she just acts her character, you know, for it to be funny. And, you know, it was a very one-dimensional character in my opinion, so I didn't really care for her character. So don't get me wrong, I laughed and she did a great performance, but, you know, I couldn't really care less about her character, and I couldn't really care much about Charlie either. And to be honest, the only character I cared about was Lola, and even with him, like, I don't know, it just wasn't, I didn't feel too connected with him. So I don't know, that's probably why I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. There is one scene though in Act 2 with Matt Henry, who plays Lola, and it's a serious scene, and he sings a serious song, and I think that was probably one of my highlights. It was just done very well. It nearly brought me to tears. It's a good song as well. I don't remember it, not a catchy song by any means, but it was a good song. It was a more serious song, more slow song, and it was done very well. So yeah, well done to Matt Henry for that. It was very emotional, and I I really liked it. Having said all this though, don't let me make my mind up for you. Like, if you want to go and see it, go and see it, because by all means you might enjoy it. As far as I know, most people who go and see it love it, and I enjoyed it as well. Like, I don't want you to think that I went there and hated it. I enjoyed it. It was a good night. I laughed, I was entertained, I smiled. It was fun, but it wasn't something that I'd remember. Like, literally an hour after I left the show, I couldn't care less about it. You know, like sometimes you go and see a musical and you come out and, you know, it stays with you and you think about it and you want to listen more to the music and stuff and you just want to learn more about it. With me and Kinky Boots, it was just like, it was a good night. It was entertaining, you know, some great performances, but that's it now. I don't want to think about it anymore. So yeah, that's my personal opinion on the show. It's by no means the worst show I've ever seen. It's not even like a bad show. It's just a good show. It's a decently good show in my opinion. And to be honest, I don't know why it's getting all these like amazing reviews, because I feel like part of that reason is because people just, you know, craving to the hype, and when there's loads of hype about something, people just think that they need to like it as well, so they just add to the hype whether or not they actually like it. I think the hype of something affects your, I don't know, perception of that thing and how you react to it. So I think that might be it. Like, I mean, I went to New York a few years ago and this show like won loads of awards in America and New York and stuff, including Best New Musical and at the Tonys. And when I was in New York, I had the option to go and see Kinky Boots, and I remember loads of people telling me, go and see Kinky Boots, because at the time I wasn't sure if it was going to come to London or not, and it had won all these awards and everyone was going on about it. But I watched a few clips, not a few clips, like a trailer and stuff, and a few performances on YouTube of Kinky Boots, and I decided that it just wasn't really my thing, just based on, you know, the clips and stuff. I was like, I mean, it's something that I would go in London because I live in London, but for me, based on what I've seen, I was like, the music, you know, the style, just the story and stuff just doesn't seem to be what I normally like, I would like that much. So instead I went to see Newsies, which I absolutely loved, and in my opinion, Newsies should have won Best New Musical that year. But that's the thing, like, it's just personally, it's not to my taste, and I feel like people need to judge it for themselves. Like, I only went because, you know, I like seeing new stuff in London and I heard great things, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, because, again, I'm not really into, like, most of the show is about a drag queen, right? And Matt Henry did an amazing job. Like, he was so likable, he was so funny, but I don't know, you know, for me, the idea of going to see a drag act in a musical isn't my favourite. I don't have anything against drag acts, and they can be funny, and there's loads more to Kinky Boots than, you know, drag guys doing stuff. It's actually got a really good message as well. Like, it's a good message, but it's not something that we haven't heard before, but it's still a good message. But again, I don't know, would I go see the show again? Maybe, you know, but only if it's free. So yeah, I did not hate this musical, but I didn't love it either. I liked it. It was a good night. The performances were great, especially from Matt Henry and also Killian Donnelly. And it's a very fun show. It's gonna make you smile. But there are other musicals that will make you smile as well that are better generally than Kinky Boots, in my opinion. So yeah, I feel really bad, you know. I feel like I've been a bit harsh, but it's just my opinion at the end of the day. You know, you don't have to listen to it. But leave comments down below if you've seen Kinky Boots and let me know what you thought. I'm pretty sure most of my comments are going to be like positive reviews about it, because, you know, everyone seems to love it. Maybe I'm just different, but I'd be interested to talk about it anyway. And I hope you enjoyed this review. If you want me to go and see any other shows, in particular in London, and review them, let me know in the comments down below, and I shall see you next time. Bye.